Last week, I went to go see a sequel to a movie I know nothing about, from a series I've never seen, made by a studio that hasn't made anything good since How to Train Your Dragon 3. In my opinion, anyway. And, to be honest, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is way better than it had any right to be. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. I'll catch you guys next time. Just kidding, I'm actually going to explain why. The deck was very unfavorably stacked for Puss in Boots: The Last Wish when the somewhat anticipated sequel to a decade-old film crawled into theaters on December 21st, 2022. Just take a look at the last few amazing animation hits from previously this year, Lightyear or Strange World. These films received great reviews and only lost about $250 million at the box office. Yeah, not to mention our fearless feline would be battling several small indie films such as Wakanda Forever and Avatar: The Way of Water at the box office. No biggie. Puss in Boots 2 had every right to flop in the world. And yet, it didn't. Somehow, this movie went on to earn positive reviews from critics and fans alike, as well as make $400 million at the box office. That might not sound like a lot, until you realize that it only had less than a $100 million budget, which was even less than the first Puss in Boots, and that's not even counting inflation. So why did this movie work? Why did it make money? And why do people love it? Well, let's take a look.
This is gonna be fun.
So, to begin with, there's the story. You can make a terrible movie from an awesome script, but you can't make an awesome movie from a terrible script. I don't remember where I read that, but still a good quote though. So, in case you haven't heard about it at all, here's a quick spoiler-free breakdown of the plot. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish begins with the legendary Puss in Boots indulging in his normal daily activities.
My portrait!
Singing, dancing, swashbuckling heroics, and soaking up all the praise that he can. He's a hero, and he knows it. But in the opening action scene, something occurs that Puss did not intend.
The legend will never die!
He dies. No problem, right? He's died before. 8 times. And he's a cat, so... Oh snap. Puss is on his last life. This realization sets the stage for Puss, who goes out on a quest to find a magical wishing star to restore his 9 lives. So yeah, that's the premise. Pretty straightforward. But what you can't see are all the small threads holding the story together beneath the surface. Things that would evade your attention if you weren't on the lookout for them. The film is written in such a way that I didn't even need to know the entire backstory of Puss to become invested in his character. I'm sure there were some elements that might have made a little bit more sense if I'd viewed the previous installments, but as a standalone film, Puss in Boots works. The way it handles theme without shoving it down your throat and tension mixed with well-timed humor, setups, payoffs, and setting is superb. Which leads us to the next category where this film succeeds. Character. This story wouldn't have been any good if there weren't any characters we cared about. And there's so many great characters in this film. First off, Puss. If we didn't care about him, this whole movie would be useless. In the beginning, he's the most cocky, self-centered feline on the planet. He thinks he can do anything he wants, any way he wants. So why are we rooting for him? Because we want to see him change. We want to see him improve. We want to see him be the best that he can. And also, he's pretty funny.
You died, Doctor. Please. Relax!
But before he can become great, he has to plummet from his precious platform and hit his lowest point. That was some pretty good alliteration. Plummet from his precious platform. Then there are the supporting characters. Kitty Softpaws, an old acquaintance of Puss, and Perrito, a small dog with a heart of gold that will not leave him alone. Hot take, I think Perrito is a bit of a Jar Jar, but he never took it so far off the edge that I got pulled out of the story. I didn't love him in the beginning, but by the end, I didn't mind as much, so what is this? Character development in the theater? The dynamic between the trio is pretty great because Puss and Kitty both want to work alone, but they can't both take the mystical map that they've acquired at the same time, forcing them to work together. This inevitably brews conflict, and even the optimistic Perrito can't keep the team together forever. But in my opinion, the best characters in this film are not the protagonists, they are the antagonists, and oh man, are they awesome. There are 3 factions of antagonists, each after Puss and the map that he carries, who will stop at nothing to prevent him from achieving his goal. First, there is Goldilocks and the 3 Bears, who I enjoyed way more than I was ever expecting. I guess they could have just gone the easy way and just kind of wrote them off and done nothing with them, but I'm really happy with the way they turned out. Composed of Papa, Mama, and Baby Bear, as well as Goldilocks, the quartet seeks to find the wishing star themselves so that they can make everything just right. And yeah, they're actually pretty good. Second is the massive Jack Horner. From the moment his red, plump thumb enters the frame, I knew this was going to be a good movie. He wasn't even in the trailer, for crying out loud, and he's at least in a third of the film. There are not very many movies that give you more than you came for, but this is one of them. It's the difference between Spider-Man, No Way Home, and Kenobi. Spider-Man marketed their film showing only the villains, leaving the fans to speculate if the other Spider-Men would even make an appearance. When they did, the fans went nuts and word spread like wildfire. And then there's Kenobi.
Hard buzz.
This show features Darth Vader in nearly every trailer it released, and he's in like 5 minutes of the total TV show. So yeah, would not recommend. Puss in Boots took the former route, and it paid off. Back to Jack Horner. I used to think it was Jack Corner. Jack Corner sat in a corner. That's why it rhymes. He is on a quest, attempting to make the wish for himself so that he can take hold of all of the magical items in the world. An obsession that has plagued him ever since his one-man show was replaced by some magical dancing puppet. And finally, the last villain that overshadowed the entire film, the sinister Wolf Death. I think his name is Death? Some people call him Wolf, some people call him Death. I don't even know. The main point is, he is ridiculously cool. He's the perfect antagonist for Puss. Our fearless hero has died many times, but if death catches up with him now, there is no coming back. Everything from the chilling whistle to the glowing eyes make him terrifying. Take the opening scene, for example. As soon as he appears with that jump scare, you know it's about to get good. Puss decked down this huge giant, basically with his paws behind his back and wearing a blindfold. And then this wolf comes out of nowhere and beats him hands down. So it's a powerful presentation of a sinister villain. The way that death is incorporated into the plot is great as well, until Puss can conquer his fear of death, the dying kind, and death, the kind that's the wolf that's trying to kill you. He can never be great. I was not expecting such a riveting character to come from an animated kids film, so hats off to DreamWorks. Alright, style. Another element that blew me away was the style of this movie.
So the production designer, Nate Ragg, came up with this kind of concept that this movie, because it's in the Shrek fairy tale world, feels like a fairy tale. What if we just visually make the movie look like it's a painting? When the first Shrek came out, it was like over 20 years ago, and computer animation was new. Everybody's like, wow, you can see the hairs on their arm and they almost look real. Everybody was chasing photorealism. But we realized, like, we can do anything with animation. Why are we trying to make stuff look like real life? Let's bring the audience into a fantasy world.
Now, since we've gotten to the point where almost everything looks photorealistic, except faces, we're still working on that one. It's just really refreshing to see someone take a step back and put a little bit more style into their work. And because there's a reason behind the choice, it's even better. The last reason that Puss in Boots is awesome is because it took some chances. Too many films these days are just bland copy and paste assembly lines of movies that you'd rather go bury yourself alive than watch them. But this movie is different. It actually had something to say and a creative way of saying it. The best stories are those that are true now and will be true in 1,000 years. The stories that really matter.
It's like in the great stories, Mr. Frodo. The ones that really mattered.
Yeah, I'm a Lord of the Rings fan, if you didn't notice. Not the ones chock full of political messages or woke opinions that won't matter in a couple months or whenever people come to their senses. But Puss in Boots has some really deep stuff that even adults will be chewing on long after they walk out of the theater. It explores the meaning of life through an interesting lens, showing how beautiful it is, reminding us that life is short and we should do the best that we can with the time that we have. This movie also highlights the true value of friendship. It shows the danger of being self-centered and the rewards of being selfless and putting others before yourself. But also this movie is kind of dark. I can't remember the last time I've seen so many people die in a kid's movie. Puss actually bleeds when he's cut by the main villain, Death. Honestly, it's kind of like a breath of fresh air, something new, something deep, something that might make you uncomfortable, that you might be wrestling with for days after you watch it. And in all honesty, that's what films are all about. I'm Kritik, thanks for watching this video, and I will catch you around.